Let's get into the 1 o'clock slate now. Vikings at Lions is game one. For week 8, I went 11-6. Week 7, I went 21-6. My underdog picks have hit every single week since week 5. That's 1, 2, 3, 4. 3 of them have won straight on the money line. 3 of them. The Titans beat the Cardinals. The Chargers lost to the Giants, and last week the Jets beat the Bengals outright. That's 6 straight weeks. Wait, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 straight weeks where my underdog pick has covered the spread. They have won outright in 3 of that. So stay for the whole episode. You'll get my underdog pick at some point once we get to that game. Let's start with the 1 o'clock games, though. Vikings at Lions. The Lions are 8-point favorites. All the Lions do is cover the spread. This Vikings defense is not elite like it was last year by any stretch of the imagination. They haven't allowed a whole lot of passing yards, but they allow the 13th highest passing yards per pass attempt. So that's a stat. I like to look at that when I'm looking at these teams, like defensive efficiency. Like last year, for example, the Titans were like the number 2 team in terms of passing yards allowed, but their passing yards per pass attempt was in the middle of the pack. So teams are just running it up on the Titans and they're running the football. That's why it looks like they have a good passing defense. Where you can really tell how good a team is against the pass or the run is how many yards per pass attempt they're allowing and how many yards per carry they're allowing. So this Vikings defense, 13th highest passing yards per attempt, and that the weaker part of their defense is the run game. So they are not even elite at anything anymore. And they do generate a lot of pressure, but 40% of it comes from the blitz. They blitz more than any team in the NFL, and Jared Goff just absolutely eats up the blitz. There's a reason that last year Jared Goff completed 80% of his passes both times. Jared Goff, against his Brian Flores scheme last year, completed 80% of his passes both times he saw the Vikings. The Vikings blitz the most in the NFL. Their defense has taken a real step back from last year, which is one of the best run defenses in the NFL. They are 12th in yards per carry this year, 11th in total rushing yards. No, that's the Lions defense. Excuse me, I was reading the wrong part of my notes. So the Lions have one of the best run games in the NFL for the past 3 seasons. They're top 12 in running this year. Dude, I am fucking out of it. Let me get a water break. And the Vikings, like I said, one of the highest pressure rates in the NFL, but all of that comes from simulated pressure and the blitz game. Jared Goff absolutely eats up the blitz. 80%, completed over 80% of his passes last year against the Vikings. Offensively for the Vikings, it's just a hard time projecting, but I think it's going to be an uphill battle with J.J. McCarthy stepping in against the Lions defensive line that's top 10 in pressure rate. And a Lions secondary that, even though depleted, played absolutely out of its mind against Baker Mayfield on Monday Night Football a couple weeks ago. If you guys remember that game, no DJ Reed, no Terrion Arnold. They still played an elite level against a depleted Bucs secondary or depleted Bucs wide receiver core, but still Emeka Egbuka and Baker Mayfield is not an easy task for anybody. Nevertheless, when you have your backup corners and backup safeties, and the whole backup secondary was in, and they still took care of Baker Mayfield. They're coming off of a bye as well. The Lions defense is also top 10 against both the pass and the run. And they're a top 10 scoring defense. I don't think J.J. McCarthy, it's a bad spot for J.J. to make his return, but it's better than Carson Wentz. I think the Lions covered pretty easily. So I'm all over the Lions -8 in this game. Bears at Bengals. This is a tough one because Joe Flacco is questionable, and the Bears are favored by 2.5 points. The Bears are also really banged up. I'm recording this on Wednesday night, and the injury report for Chicago is DJ Moore, Rome Odunze, did not participate in practice. Kyler Gordon and Jalen Johnson are also on IR. Tariq Stevenson and Jaquan Brisker will be matched up on Jamar Chase and T. Higgins. That is horrible. I think if Joe Flacco plays, the Bengals absolutely blow out this Bears team because besides the game against the Cowboys, Caleb Williams and this offense has looked very, very uninspiring. And as bad as this Bengals defense is, I think in the back end they are way better than a lot of people give them credit for. I think DJ Turner is one of the most underrated corners in football, and Caleb Williams has just been so inconsistent with his accuracy so far this season that I think if Joe Flacco plays, this Bengals offense is going to run it up on this Bears defense that is horrible against the run, bottom 4 team in terms of yards per carry allowed, and their secondary. Not only is it mid to begin with outside of Jalen Johnson, but their 2 best players in the secondary, Jalen Johnson and Kyler Gordon, are on IR. So you have Jamar Chase and T. Higgins lined up with Tariq Stevenson and Jaquan Brisker, not to mention the lack of a pass rush that Chicago has as well. So I think if Joe Flacco plays, the Bengals roll. But if the reason that the Bears win on that little 4-game win streak is because they were creating turnovers. So if Jake Browning plays, I think the Bears are in a great spot, obviously, because Browning had 8 interceptions in 3.5 games of football. So I think it's all Bears if Jake Browning plays. It's all Bengals if Joe Flacco plays. I love the Bengals if Joe Flacco plays. I wonder what their team total is. If Flacco plays, I would take it. It's got to probably not. I think they score 30. I don't think it's at 30 though. But I think I would entertain that. Joe Flacco's been lights out, and Jamar Chase is getting like 20 targets a game with Flacco in there. Literally, like unironically, 20 targets a game. So that's how I'm attacking this game so far. There's just so many injuries on the defensive side and the secondary for the Chicago Bears that it's just a tough matchup, especially with the lack of pass rush they have, especially on the edge. The interior is pretty good, like Ravon Dexter. Grady Jarrett, even though he's a fossil, has still been pretty solid, which makes no sense why they can't stop the run either. But that's neither here nor there. And Chase Brown's looked revived, rejuvenated since Joe Flacco got there. So I really like this Bengals offense to run it up on this Bears injured defense, and I don't trust Caleb Williams to keep up with Joe Flacco if it turns into a shootout. Even though the Jets did it, based on their run game. So maybe that's a part of this equation that I'm overlooking is if they can get DeAndre Swift and the run game going, maybe the Bears can keep up. Maybe I'm overlooking that, but I just don't see it, man. I don't see it. I think if Flacco plays, I think the Bengals roll, and I'm just not a Bears guy either. You got to keep that in mind. So I might be a little biased, but hey, last 2 weeks I was 11-6 in my picks in week 8. I'm 21-6. I was 21-6 in my picks in week 7, and I'm 84-57 since week 4. And that's when I started keeping track. It's not like I just eviscerated weeks 1 through 3. It's just I started keeping track, and I started posting episodes on YouTube after week 4. So yeah, all right. Panthers at Packers. Green Bay's 13.5-point favorites. I think Green Bay to cover this total is the lock of the week. The Panthers have played 3 teams so far this season that are above 500 going into week 9. They played the Jags, the Pats, and the Bills. They lost all of those games. Their average margin of loss in those games was 25 points. They are losing by an average. The Carolina Panthers are losing by an average of 25 points against teams that are above 500 heading into week 9. The Packers, obviously 5-1-1 above 500, 13.5-point favorites. I think they cover that number. I think you lay it. The Packers are allowing 3.7 yards per carry, and this offense looked at its best in Carolina when Rico Dowdle was carrying the rock. It's the news coming out of Panthers camp is that Rico Dowdle's back with RB1 duties, not against this Packers defense. He's not going to be as efficient. He still probably will be nice because he's been incredible even going back to the back half of the year with the Cowboys. Rico Dowdle's been incredible, not against this Packers defense. Bryce Young stinks too. I'm tired of people pretending like Bryce Young could be something. Not to be mean to the kid. Sure, he's a nice guy, but he has been so inconsistent at the NFL level. We're on year 3 now, and we haven't seen consistent flashes over a 6, 7, 8 game period. Didn't mean to say it like that. It's all Packers in this one at the end of the day. And Jordan Love's playing at an MVP level, and we're entering Toyotathon momentarily. So I think it's all Green Bay. They win by 3 touchdowns. Take them. This is one of my favorite plays of the weekend is laying down this number. The Panthers are garbage. Chargers, this is an easy one. This is a really, here, let me get a sip of water here. We're 15 minutes through. We might be short today, but I don't mind if we are, boys, because I'm so tired. I will be better next week. So here's my conundrum. Like last week, I didn't do enough research, and I got it early, but I had more energy. This week, I did way more research than I did last week because there were certain injuries that I wasn't mentioning that I was like, oh shit, that guy's not hurt. How did I miss that? Or that guy's not playing, he's hurt. How did I miss that? I totally got fucked. But this week, I did more research, but now I just don't have the energy to be like fully locked in at 5 in the morning when I've been up for, I don't know. I was up at 11 today. What's that? 11, 12, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I've been up. I'm horrible at math. 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. It was 24 minus 6. Sorry, that's a horrible 30 seconds of podcasting just then. Like I'm on 18 hours here, so I need sleep, and I'm just part of it. It's my fault though. I'm trying to blame it on the research to whatever. If I started researching at 12:30, like I said I would have been done, and I would be in bed. So that's on me. We're gonna be better. Let's get into this Panthers game though. This Titans game. This is a quick one, man. The Titans offense ranks 27th. They're the 27th best rushing attack, 29th passing, 31st scoring, 31st total. Calvin Ridley didn't practice. Tony Pollard is limited. Defensively, they're playing the Chargers, by the way. The Chargers are 9.5-point favorites. Defensively, the Titans are bottom 10 against the pass, bottom 5 against the run, allowing 4.9 yards per carry. Kamani Vidal just gashed the Vikings. Let's not overthink this. Chargers are also coming off a mini bye because they played on Thursday. The Titans are getting blown out here. The Chargers are too good, man. Chargers are too good. I think they cover 10. I think they could cover a couple touchdowns here. We're going to be in for another week of pretty, I don't want to say all blowouts because we do have some better games later in the 1 o'clock slate. And there are some good games in the 4 o'clock slate. Obviously, Bills, Chiefs, which we'll get into at the end of the episode. If you're watching on YouTube or if you're listening to the podcast, it'll be on tomorrow's episode. But there's going to be some blowouts early on, and I think the Chargers are a key factor in that. Falcons at Patriots. This game makes me want to put I can't stand this fucking game because I cannot stand the Atlanta Falcons. How do you beat the Chiefs or not beat the Chiefs? Beat the Bills, but then get blown out by the Dolphins and get shut out by the Panthers. That makes zero sense. And the Falcons, all of their skill players are questionable, so we have no idea if any of them are going to be playing at the time of recording this. We're recording this on Wednesday. Literally, Michael Penix, Darnell Mooney, Drake London, Kyle Pitts, all of them are fucking questionable to play. I gotta say, that's gotta be a competitive advantage, Falcons, because if I'm getting this frustrated looking at that injury report, I know Mike Vrabel's looking at that injury report like, what the fuck am I supposed to do with this? Drake London didn't play last week. Michael Penix didn't play last week. This is such a weird spot for the Falcons to just fuck everybody, win outright, cover the spread, but I can't in good faith do that. Not to mention on the defensive side of the ball, they got Jalen Walker, Leonard Floyd, Jesse Bates, Billy Bowman, the stud rookie nickel corner, by the way, all questionable defensively. So everyone, all of them limited as a limited participant. That's got to be driving Mike Vrabel up a fucking wall. So I genuinely have no clue. The Falcons are a team that makes zero sense to me because they beat the Bills, but they get blown out by the Panthers and Dolphins. They have the best pass defense in football on paper, but they let Tua Tagovailoa complete what? He was 20 for 26 with 4 touchdowns. Like, what the fuck is that shit? It's so good. It makes zero sense. The Falcons make zero sense, and it pisses me off. And I have Pats minus 4.5 written down, but the more I think about it, it's like, if I'm getting angry looking at this injury report and looking at this Falcons team, and I think Vrabel's probably having his brain's probably in a pretzel. Falcons are covering the spread. The Falcons are winning fucking outright. I'm going with my gut. That might fuck me. That really might, but I'm going with my gut. I think they're playing some great mind games here because my brain's in a pretzel. My brain's in a pretzel. I will say this, though. We're going to be monitoring for some injuries. If Michael Penix doesn't play, then yeah, it's the Patriots. That's what I'll say. If Penix plays and if Penix and London play, or Penix, I can't tell you what's going to happen. We'll play it safe. Pats minus 4.5. We're playing it safe, but you got to monitor the injuries in this game because literally some of their 2 best players defensively, Jesse Bates, Leonard Floyd, questionable. Their best player, or not their best, Bijan's their best player offensively, but the drop off from Michael Penix to Kirk Cousins was tragic. Kirk Cousins looked absolutely atrocious against the Dolphins. That's another reason why they lost that game. I understand that. But the Panthers, they got shut out by the Panthers. The Panthers are a joke. But then they beat the Bills. The Bills beat the Panthers 40-9. So that game makes zero sense. The defense against the Dolphins makes zero sense. It's just fuck the Falcons. That's what I'll say. They make no sense at all. Pats minus 4.5 for now. Monitor the injuries in this game, man. You gotta be paying attention to the injuries like a hawk. Half of the Falcons roster is questionable, but they were all limited in practice. Yeah, I don't know. Enough of that. I'm literally getting angry thinking about that game. 49ers at Giants. This is a good game, man. I think this is going to be a great game. I love the over in this game so much, man. The 49ers pass rush is non-existent, and Jackson Dart has looked very good in the pocket, even in the face of some brutal pass rushes. Not that the Eagles have an elite pass rush, but he had 4 total touchdowns against the Broncos. They lead the NFL in pressure rate and sacks. His maneuverability in the pocket and his ability to step into throws while taking an absolute beating is uncanny. Jackson Dart just has that gamer in him. He's been very accurate. He's very accurate throwing on the run as well. And even though their receivers on the outside, little Jordan Humphrey, Wan'Dale Robinson, not really ideal. The 49ers are a bottom 10 team against the pass, and they're just not going to be able to get a pass rush. But on the flip side of that, this Giants defense is Paulson Adebo didn't practice. Cordell Flott, who's looked very good for the Giants so far this year, he didn't practice. Deontay Banks is going to be starting, and the Giants have the worst run defense in football. They allow 5.7 yards per carry. That's the highest in the NFL. So I love the over 48.5 in this game. I think it's going to be an absolute shootout. But where I think the difference is that the Giants pass rush will be able to get home. Brian Burns playing at a defensive player of the year, all pro type of level so far this season. I think he'll be able to get home on Brock Purdy or Mac Jones. I think it's going to be Brock Purdy. I think they'll be able to disrupt the game and get more stops. I think the Giants will than the 49ers will. But most importantly, I love the over. I think McCaffrey has a big day. I think these receivers have a big day, especially if Adebo and Cordell Flott are out. Yeah, not ideal. There's Javon Holland is also questionable. I think it's going to be a rough day for both of these defenses, but I trust the Giants pass rush to create more havoc and get more stops on this 49ers offense. So I like the over, but I love the over, but I also like Giants +3 in this game. Colts at Steelers. This is going to be a fun one. This game gives weird Tomlin vibes, but I'm not going to use that as a justification for everything I've seen with both of these football teams tells you to take the Colts -3.5. I think they beat the fuck out of this Steelers team. Excuse me for cursing. It's late at night, so we're going to be cursing a little bit extra. I hope you can understand that. Sorry if you're a new YouTube audience, if there are any kids watching. We got the best offense in the NFL versus one of the softest, most embarrassing excuses of a secondary to ever touch a football field. The strength of the Steelers defense is in their pass rush, but the Colts O-line has been nails. They're going to nullify that. Danny Dimes has been sacked 9 times in eight games. The Colts are allowing the second lowest sack rate or sack percentage in the NFL. These Steelers DBs, they just can't cover in man-to-man, yet they continue to play man-to-man. Good fucking luck. And their run defense has been so inconsistent. Like some games it looks the lights out, but when they play legit backs, like they get absolutely cooked. Like the Bengals going into that Thursday night football game were averaging 3.3 yards per carry. Chase Brown leaves that game averaging 10 yards per carry. 0 cents. You think that Steelers defensive line is going to be able to stop the best rushing attack in football? I doubt it, man. I doubt it. I will say this, though. This is a good test for the Colts defense, good measuring stick test in a way, because we saw they weren't good against the Rams. They weren't good against the Broncos, at least as good as they have been against the rest of their Mickey Mouse schedule. Like those were two legit offenses, legit quarterbacks they played, and they didn't look that great. The Steelers offense isn't close to the Broncos or the Rams, but it does have a better than most of the other it has been better than most of the other competition. The Colts have faced a veteran quarterback in Aaron Rodgers, who is on pace for a career high in interceptions and a career low in passing yards. I feel like I have to say that every time I mention Aaron Rodgers, just because fuck that guy. But I think this is a good measuring stick test to see, like, okay, how good is this Colts defense? Because they're not good enough to stop the Rams and the Broncos. Like, they're still going to get points, but are they good enough to stop Aaron Rodgers in like a middle of the tier? I'd say, yeah, middle of the tier offense in Pittsburgh. I think they will, and I think they will. So, although I do have my questions about the Colts defense, I think they'll be able to contain the Steelers offense, and I know the Steelers offense will not be able, or Steelers defense will not be able to stop this Colts offense that is ranked number 1 in basically every metric except the passing attack, and they're top 5 in that too. So they have the best offensive line, they've got the best run game, they've got an underrated group of weapons, one of the best tight ends in football, one of the most underrated wide receiver groups in football, wide receiver rooms with Michael Pittman Jr., who's been absolutely outstanding. I love the Colts in this game. And the Steelers O-line also stinks. The Colts generate the 6th most pressure in the league. The Colts are a wagon. They've looked like it, and they don't match up well with this. The Steelers don't match up well with them. I will say this, though. There is Kenny Moore, Nick Cross, both did not practice on Wednesday, and Charvarius Ward is on IR. So there are some holes in the secondary that the Steelers can exploit. It's too bad they don't have a top 20 receiver in the league, number 1, and then you have DK Metcalf. But after that, I don't think they have a top 100 receiver in the NFL. It have that can play wide receiver too. So, but who knows? Nick Cross lines up on tight ends a lot, so maybe they could expand. And the Steelers do like to use their tight ends, so I think the over is in play here for sure. I think the Colts are going to score 40 on their own, and then Aaron Rodgers could easily score 20. They get a few touchdowns, especially with the injuries on the back end of this Colts defense for sure. But more importantly, I love the Colts in this game. Broncos at Texans. This is a fun game. The Broncos-Texans game is so much fun because we have two elite defenses. I think they're the two best defenses in football. Maybe the Seahawks can get in there, but both units are top 10 in scoring, yards per play, yards allowed per pass attempt, yards per carry allowed. The difference, though, is that this Broncos pass rush leads the NFL in sacks and pressure rate, and the Texans O-line simply won't be blocking them, which is why it makes no sense that the Texans are favored in this game. I'm all over the Broncos, even with Pat Surtain out. It's just the Seahawks have a very similar defense to the Broncos, which is a lot of talent up front. And we saw CJ Stroud and this Texans offense just struggle to get anything going. Like everything looked like it took all of the effort in the world to gain an inch on that Seahawks defense. This Broncos defense is better. So as good as the Texans defense is, I just think that I trust the Broncos offense to move the ball more than the Texans offense to move the ball against the respective defenses that they're playing. So I think it's Broncos plus 1.5 all day long here. And I think you could take them to win by a touchdown, maybe even two, unless the Texans defense creates a lot of turnovers, which they can do. They're top 5 in turnovers created, and maybe they got to bring one back. They got to bring one back to the crib here. Houston does if they want a chance in this game, right? We'll get into but I like the Broncos in this game. And Nico Collins is questionable, Christian Kirk is questionable. If they don't play, and I especially love the Broncos because it's like you have Pat Surtain to take out Nico Collins. If Pat Surtain doesn't play, there could be an advantage there because Riley Moss. I mean, they threw the CD like 4 times with Riley Moss on him. It was pass interference every time. So you could have that type of matchup if Nico Collins plays. And that's definitely a plus for the Texans if Nico and Christian Kirk play without Pat Surtain, but I just don't think CJ's going to have any time in the pocket anyway for any route to develop down the field. Like, it's going to have to be quick passing game, first read stuff, or CJ's going to get fucking hammered, man. So I like the Broncos. Even if Nico Collins does play and Christian Kirk does play, I still like the Broncos in this game. And I'm getting weird vibes about the over, too. Even though it's 39.5, like, this game could, nah, I mean, I can't take it, but my gut's saying something about the over, but I'm not putting it on the card. Not putting it on the card. All right. We will now get into some of the 4 o'clock games. Obviously, Chiefs Bills is the headline, and we'll get into that at the end, but let's get through some of these other games first. Jaguars at Raiders. The Jags are 4-3. The Raiders are 2-5. The Jags are only 2.5-point favorites, which feels very trappy, and I might be falling right for it. But I'll say this. Both teams are coming off the bye. There, I said it again. I'll say this, but I will say this. Both teams are coming off the bye. The Jaguars' offense, 2 worst games of the season were against the Rams and the Seahawks. Both of those defense are top teams in the league against the run. The Seahawks have the best defense in the run, and those were the 2 lowest scoring games for this Jaguars offense. So, moral of the story, which is it's not a groundbreaking revelation, but if a team can't run the football, especially a team like the Jaguars that hasn't had much vertical success in their passing game, the rest of the offense seems to be sputtering out. So can the Raiders stop the run? Well, a little bit so far this season. They're slightly above average, allowing just 4 yards per carry. But the Seahawks and the Rams also generate a lot of pass rush. The Raiders do not. But they do have a guy named Max Crosby. Like, Trevor Lawrence got sacked 7 times in his last 2 games before the bye. So if the Raiders want to win this game, they got to generate pressure and they got to stop the run because they do not have the corners on the outside. It's like Eric Stokes, and I forget the other one, but it's Travis Hunter and Brian Thomas Jr. You're not covering them. You're simply not. But I do think they'll be able to contain Travis Etienne in this run game, and they'll hang around longer than people think. But 2.5 points is just it's too little for a Jaguars team, for a team as talented as the Jaguars are. And they do have a lot of talent on both sides of the ball. So I love the Jags in this game. And and I mean, offensively for the Raiders, Geno Smith can't turn the ball over as well. That's the other thing. If the Raiders want to win, there's 3 things here. Geno Smith can't turn the ball over. He leads the NFL in interceptions. The Jaguars are second in the NFL in turnover percentage, and they are tied for second in the NFL tied for second in the NFL in interceptions. So Geno Smith needs to take care of the ball. They need to stop the run game. They need to pressure Trevor Lawrence. That's how you stop the offense. And then the Jags defense, teams have been able to move the ball on them. It's just they turn it over. Geno Smith needs to take care of the ball. The Jags do have a top 10 run D, so I think it might be a little bit of tough sledding here for Genty, and I think they'll fall behind, so I'm not confident in Genty too much in this game, especially when he's the only real threat on this offense. He's probably the first name circled on defensive team meetings, so it feels so trappy, but I'm going to fall for it. I'm going to take the Jags minus 2.5. There's just too much talent to be given. Like, there's too much of a talent disparity to only be given 2.5 points. Plus, I like Liam Cohen. I do like Liam Cohen, and he's coming out of a bye. I do like Pete Carroll too, but I like the talent Liam Cohen's got to work with more than Pete Carroll. So I like the Jags. Okay, now my upset pick of the week. This is going to sound crazy, and I want it on the record that this is the upset pick I've given Harry. Let me break it down for you. If you're new here, I've had 5 straight weeks where my upset pick has won. I don't know if I can remember all of them, but I'll try. It was the Giants beat the Chargers. The Titans, or they've covered the spread 3 of the 5 weeks they've won outright. It was the Cardinals, or it was the Titans against the Cardinals, and then it was the Cardinals back-to-back weeks they covered. And then last week, who was it last week? It was the Jets, and they won outright. So 3 out of the 5 weeks, my underdog pick has won outright, and my underdog pick needs to be by a touchdown or more underdog. That's all. That's the rule. And this week was tough because I liked a lot of the favorites. And the underdog that I'm going with is actually the longest shot of the weekend. The New Orleans Saints at the Los Angeles Rams. My logic is I just like Tyler Shuck. I've been a Tyler Shuck guy since March. Time for me to put my money where my mouth is. And I do think this Saints offensive line is better than a lot of people give it credit for. And that's how you kind of neutralize this Rams defense, this Rams passing defense, especially, which has been top 5 in the NFL so far in yards allowed per pass attempt, is you stop the pass rush first, and then you hope that your guys on the outside can get open. I do have faith in Chris Olave, Rashid Shaheed to get open. And the thing about Tyler Shuck is he is not gun shy. He is going to let it rip. In the small sample we saw him last week, he was letting it rip. Chris Olave dropped a dot. Chris Olave also dropped another ball that led to Tyler Shuck's interception. So Tyler Shuck didn't look horrible, but he didn't look great. But the numbers look way worse than they were because that interception was not his fault. And I liked him. I think he should have got the start over Spencer Rattler. 14.5 is a lot of points. The Saints defense obviously not that good, so I think the Rams will be able to score. But I think if the Rams can't get pass rush, they're going to really test that young group of DBs they have back there, like Quentin Lake and company. So I do like the Saints in this game to cover 14.5, and I do think because this could be one of those weird NFL games where the underdog just wins outright in a shocker. So give me the Saints with a tiny quarter unit sprinkle on the money line, but I do like them to cover in this game as well. That's my upset pick of the week. I like a lot of favorites this week. A lot of the long shot favorites I like a lot. So give me the Saints. Give me New Orleans. I'm putting my money where my mouth is when it pertains to Tyler Shuck. And if you've been listening, the podcast has grown significantly on a percentage basis. Not like we're doing Rogan numbers, but it's grown. And I doubt a lot of people were here for draft talk back in March, but I was higher on Shuck than most. I almost wanted to put Shuck over Shadur, but I was just letting other people's opinions infiltrate mine. Kind of beta of me, won't let it happen again this draft season. But I was like, I never saw it with Shadur, but it's like everybody else sees something, so maybe I'm wrong, and I got to throw him at 3. And Tyler Shuck was my QB4, but still, I like Shuck. I like the Saints offensive line isn't as bad as a lot of people think it is. I think he'll have time in the pocket. The dude has an absolute hose. He might throw 3 interceptions, but he also might throw 3 touchdowns. I love Tyler Shuck's passing yards. Tyler Shuck's passing yards, I'm telling you, this 190.5. I understand the Rams pass defense has been electric to start the year, top 5 in yards allowed per pass attempt. I get all that, but Tyler Shuck is not afraid to let that thing rip. He might throw a couple of interceptions, but I promise you, if the Saints are playing from behind, he's going to let it rip. They're going to connect on some deep shots down the field, especially when you have deep threats like Olave and Rashid Shaheed and Brandon Cooks even. So I think the Saints passing attack is going to look way different with Spencer Rattler. Shuck's going to be taking some deep shots down the field. I think he gets over 190.5 passing yards. And then Tyler Shuck to throw 2 touchdowns as well is like plus 350. So that's worth the sprinkle to me as well. Again, I am more of a Tyler Shuck guy than most, but that's what I like this weekend in the Rams game. And I haven't given a lot of player props in this episode. Those are 2 player props that I absolutely love this weekend. Tyler Shuck over 190.5 passing yards, and then Tyler Shuck 2 passing touchdowns at ridiculous value, plus 300, worth a sprinkle, bro. Throw a quarter unit on it, bro. And you throw a quarter unit on it, you make a full unit. I think it's worth it. I'll be putting a full unit on it because I'm just a Shuck guy. I also love the over in this game. I love the over 43.5. This is my favorite. I got 4 plays in this game, so this is going to be my most bet on game, and it's Saints plus 14, and it's the Rams are 14.5 favorites. But let's get into the talk of the town, man. The main talk here, the Chiefs at the Bills. Let me get a sip of water before we dive right in. So the Bills have beat Patrick Mahomes. Well, the Bills have beat the Chiefs. I hate talking like that, like where it's like this quarterback has beaten this quarterback, because that's my same argument for Eagles fans when they're just glazing Jalen Hurts. They're like, Jalen Hurts has beaten all of your favorite quarterbacks. No, no, no. The Eagles have beaten the Bills. The Eagles beat fill-in team here. The Eagles have beaten them. It's not a 1v1, which there's a lot of Eagles fans fail to realize. But the Bills with Josh Allen and the Chiefs with Patrick Mahomes have beaten the Bills with Josh Allen and the Chiefs with Patrick Mahomes. The Bills have beaten the Chiefs 4 straight times in the regular season, but lost to them 4 straight times. Maybe not 4 straight times. Yeah, I think it's 4 straight. Like the 4 times they've met in the playoffs, Mahomes and the Chiefs have beaten the Josh Allen-led Bills. So I think a lot of people are going to be betting the Bills this game. I haven't checked the market. I don't like checking the public on on Thursday because it moves so much by the time Sunday rolls around. So I'm not going to give you guys any public information because, like, if you're watching this on Saturday and I tell you and I'm recording this Thursday night, I'm like, yeah, on Thursday the public was all over the Bills. That can completely flip. So I'm not going to tell you that number, but my gut is telling me that a lot of people are going to put money on the Bills as we get closer to kickoff because, number one, it's at home. Josh Allen is a home underdog. Number two, Josh Allen has beat the Bills 4 straight times in the regular season. And number three, I forget my third point, but I had one. I forget my third point. Whatever. We also have to see if Josh Simmons and Trey Smith are playing, the two best offensive linemen. Or I guess Creed Humphrey's up there. But Josh Simmons has been incredible for the Chiefs at the left tackle position, which doesn't get talked about enough. This Chiefs dynasty just secured the left tackle of the future with the 30th pick. That's why Brett Veach is the GOAT, bro. That's why Brett Veach is the best GM in football. You got to make moves like you got to find stud left tackles with the 30th pick in the draft. That's what you got to do, and they just did it. So Patrick Mahomes' blind side is going to be protected for the next decade now, and they got him with the second to last pick in the first round. But he is banged up, and there was the kid for the Commanders who I failed to touch on him on my after the Monday Night Football when I failed to touch on him. But I'm pretty sure the kid had 2 sacks on Jalen Moore, who was the backup left tackle for the Chiefs against the Commanders, and he was part of the reason the Commanders' defense was having success early on in that game. So if Josh Simmons doesn't go, that changes everything, and I do like the Bills' chances if he doesn't go realistically, but I think he will. Trey Smith was a limited participant. I think he plays as well. The Bills are 2.5 dogs in this game too, which I like a lot, man. I like a lot. I think a lot of people are going to see that plus sign and they're going to take it. This is a lot of like gambling talk and not a lot of X's and O's talk. So let's get into it. Okay, in games when James Cook doesn't have 100 scrimmage yards this year, the Bills are 0-2. That was against the Falcons and that was against the Patriots. He has been carrying the offense, and the Chiefs' run defense is bottom half of the league. So point Bills here. The Bills' passing attack, however, has been very, very inconsistent. And we know the way this Patrick Mahomes, Andy Reid offense has been cooking recently. The Bills are going to need to score points in this game. They can't just lean on the run game. And Josh Allen's been uninspiring this year outside of I forget how well did he play in that Dolphins game. I think that was a Thursday Night Football game. I'm pretty sure James Cook went off in that game. Like, the only time Josh Allen, at least when I've been watching the Bills, felt like Josh Allen so far this year was against the Ravens on that Sunday Night Football thriller where he came back down 16 with 8 minutes to go, 6 minutes to go in the fourth quarter or whatever on Sunday Night Football week 1. He hasn't been MVP Josh this year. I'm not saying he's not going to play at that level. Like, he didn't get worse. He certainly could. But this Bills receiving core, same core as last year, basically. Very uninspiring. They were kind of relying on Keon Coleman to take a step. He hasn't done that. He lacks like a go-to guy on third down. I guess it's Khalil Shakir, but how much do you trust that? Like, no disrespect to Khalil Shakir. Felton Kincaid had a good start to the season. He got injured. He's back, so maybe he's the go-to safety blanket for Josh Allen. That's not ridiculous either, but I just think this Bills offense is nowhere near the level of this Chiefs offense currently. So I trust the Chiefs defense, which has been playing pretty solid over the past few weeks. They held the Lions to 17. They shut out the Raiders. They held the Commanders to 14? So the defense has been playing considerably better. I trust them to stop this Bills offense more than I trust this Bills defense that has not been playing good to stop this Chiefs offense. And I understand when you look at the Bills passing numbers, like their defensive passing numbers, you're going to think to yourself, oh, the Bills, I think they're like second in total yards allowed. They're top 10 in the least amount of yards allowed per pass attempt. Like, it's good. Like, Christian Benford's a good player. Teron Johnson's a good player. They have a pretty solid group of edge rushers that can get after the quarterback with Rousseau, and especially with Joey Bosa that they have there now, which is another reason why if Josh Simmons doesn't play, you should really think twice about taking the Chiefs here. So you need to monitor that situation. But I mean, the quarterbacks that they have played, the Bills defense has played have just not been good outside of Lamar Jackson in week 1 and Drake May. And both of those guys completed more than 70% of those passes. And Drake May's numbers won't light up the box score. But if you remember that Sunday Night Football game, Drake May was cooking this Bills defense. He threw for 270 plus, completed 70% of his passes, just didn't throw one into the end zone. And Lamar Jackson completed 73% of his passes for 2 touchdowns, but his yardage total wasn't up because Derrick Henry ran for 160 yards. So outside of those 2 games, which both quarterbacks played very well, completed more than 70% of those passes, the QBs the Bills defense has played this year have played this year, Spencer Rattler, Andy Dalton, Michael Penix, Tua Tagovailoa, Justin Fields. So I think their passing defense isn't as good as the numbers will indicate, and you have an offense coming to town that is just absolutely electric. They are second in the NFL in percentage of drives that end in a score. They have the third lowest turnover percentage in the NFL. They're fourth in points scored, and that was without Rashee Rice for 6 of the 8 games they played. Since getting Xavier Worthy back from injury, the Chiefs' offense is averaging 30 points per game, and they didn't play in the fourth quarter against the Raiders. So I think this Chiefs offense is going to light up this Bills defense. And as good as this, like, I think the Bills offense will also be able to score a lot of points. The over's at 52.5. That's a little too high for my blood, but I think it's going to be a high scoring game. I just trust the Chiefs defense to stop the Bills offense more than I trust the Bills defense to stop the Chiefs offense. So for that reason, I'm all over the Chiefs -2.5 in this game. Yeah, I think I was, dude, for 4 o'clock in the morning. I think I was just spitting there pretty like, I have my notes, but I was like, I was going back, dude. Let me tell you, that was poetic what I just did there, fellas. I was going out of order with my notes with the points that I was making in my head, but I was getting right back to the part of my notes, like the statistics in my notes that backed up the argument that I was making. I was getting back to them perfectly correlating with what I was talking about and what the words were coming out of my mouth. Like sometimes when I'm like going on my rant, I'll go all over the place with my notes and I'll lose like the statistic that I'm trying to get to back up the point I'm trying to make. But that time it all just flowed perfectly. And that was just absolutely electric. That deserves a water break, fellas. That deserves a water break. Moral of the story, though, I love the Chiefs. I love the Chiefs tomorrow. I just like watching the Chiefs play. Like I don't have a second team. I'm not a second team guy. I think guys that have a second team, you're kind of a pussy. If you're listening, you're kind of a pussy. Say, I wish I learned that earlier because I was in like a lot of spaces, like at West Virginia, like in the sports media spaces, like kind of by the book sports media. Which if you listen to the podcast, you know I'm the furthest thing from a by the book sports media major, or was the furthest thing from a by the book sports media major. And these guys are talking about like, who's your third favorite team in the NFL? Who's your fourth favorite team in the NFL? I was like, what? I should have known right then and there. Like, I'm not going to fit in with these guys. I shouldn't have even tried to fit in with these guys. I, I'm a Titans fan first, and then I'm a Jags fan. You know they're in the same division, right, bro? What the fuck are we talking about here? How do you have multiple teams? Like I have players that I root for, but the reason I like the Chiefs so much is simply because of a narrative that stems from my Jets fandom. It's like I want Patrick Mahomes to do better so that the Jets' biggest rival, Tom Brady, who ruined my life as a Jets fan for literally the entirety of it since the 2011 AFC divisional game where yeah, belt the fucking ass, Thomas. Never forget when Mark Sanchez marched into Gillette and outdueled Tom Brady, man. Never forget when that Jets defense walked into Gillette and shut Tom Brady the fuck up in the 2011 AFC divisional game. Never forget that. But anyway, it's like the reason I want the Chiefs to do so good is because it supports a narrative that stems from my fandom from my Jets fandom. It's like the better Mahomes does good, the worse Brady's legacy looks because he wouldn't be the GOAT anymore if Mahomes matches him in bowls. That's why I like the Chiefs aren't my second team. That's why I actively root for them in the playoffs. Plus, they've made me. Not that I'm a very like historically the proof's in the pudding, man. I am a garbage gambler. But one of the bright sides is that the Chiefs have made me a tremendous amount of money. They've weakened the damage, if you will. So some of these guys that are like, yeah, I got 3 favorite teams, or they're a fan of teams from 4 different cities. What? Yeah, that doesn't sit right with me. I can never trust a guy like that. Unless I hear them out, some of them will have valid reasons. Like, yeah, I was born here. My dad grew up a huge, like, here's one example. This kid that I know, or not know, but loosely acquainted with. I still don't really like the kid too much, but I respected his point of view here. Now, I'm not a hater. I'm not a dickhead. I'm not a hater. But he was like, he grew up in Pittsburgh, but he's a Phillies fan. I'm like, how you like all these other Pittsburgh teams? Like, yeah, my dad was a Phillies fan. He grew up a Phillies fan, so I just was born into it. But wasn't really too serious about all the other teams. And I was like, I'm from Pittsburgh, so might as well. I'm like, okay, I can respect that at least a little bit. But these guys that just pick teams from random cities because why not? Like, I understand if you're born in Dakota you're gonna just pick a team. Well, let's pick a city and stick to that, you know? There's got to be something there. You can't just be, I don't know, bro. I don't know. It doesn't sit right with me. I got to hear him out about it, and I'll try to be open-minded, but there's sometimes I'm just like, this makes zero fucking sense. Like, how are you a Dolphins fan and then a Lakers fan? What the fuck? Or like the classic one is Yankees, Cowboys, Lakers. Like, and all these guys that I meet nowadays that are like, yeah, I'm a Cowboys fan because my dad was a Cowboys fan. So your dad was a bandwagon when he was younger. Good to know. Know everything I need to about your bloodline. Obviously, taking that too far, but that makes sense. Like if you meet somebody from Connecticut, where I'm from, and they're like, yeah, I'm a Cowboys fan because my dad was a Cowboys fan. So your dad was a little bitch in the 90s and just respectfully. So your dad just liked the Cowboys because they were good. Kind of soft of him, don't you think? Just food for thought there for you. It's food for thought. Sunday Night Football. Hey, if you're watching on the YouTube and you just heard that little rant, there's more of that on the podcast. I try to keep the YouTube strictly football, strictly business, but kind of went off the rails there for a second. Sunday Night Football. Seahawks at Commanders. I've been falling for the Commanders trap a lot this year. I just can't get enough of what Jaden. I can't get enough of JD5. And though, ironically enough, the one time I didn't fall for the Commanders this year, I bet on the Chargers, and the Commanders beat them by 20. Jaden Daniels, when he is healthy, is better than Drake fucking May. I'm tired of this. I'm tired of that. I'm tired of that. We're at a point right now. We're at a point right now with Drake May where everybody loves him. He is the golden boy of the NFL right now. He's what Jaden Daniels was last year. He's what CJ Stroud was the year before. If you're a Patriots fan, if you're Drake May, enjoy this while it lasts. Enjoy this while it lasts, because sooner or later, somebody's going to have something to say about Drake May. He's going to have one off game, and everything's going to come tearing down, and Drake May is going to get all the slander, even if nothing bad does happen, and he continues to win. Then you just become like Patrick Mahomes and everybody hates you anyway. So we are in that beautiful grace period right now with Drake May where everybody loves him. He can do no wrong. He's the golden boy in New England. He's going to be the greatest quarterback in the history of the NFL. We're already throwing him in top 5 conversations. And I'll admit, I was quick to throw Jaden Daniels in the top 5. He's still in mine, though. He is still in mine. You can't throw him over Jaden Daniels until we see what the kid does in the playoffs. And even if he does carry this Patriots team to an AFC championship game, which is basically the equivalent of what Jaden Daniels did last year in the proper context, and it's not Drake May getting carried by the defense, etc. Like within the context of the way he's currently been playing, if he can bring this Patriots team to an AFC championship, then I'll be like, okay, we can entertain the argument. And next season will be the deciding factor. And you know what else pisses me off about these guys that are trying to tear down what Jaden Daniels did last year? They're like, yeah, well, Jaden Daniels didn't barely. Let me pause for a second. The main argument against Drake May right now, and I don't even think it's that great of an argument because he plays on the schedule, but he has played some easier competition. It's like, well, Jaden Daniels didn't play any hard competition last year either. Yeah, until he won 2 games in the playoffs. Like, what the fuck is that argument? Yeah, he didn't play anybody in the regular season, but then he got to the playoffs and he won 2 games, and the Commanders won 2 games, and they went to the NFC championship game. What the fuck are we talking about? Like, that's just well, Jaden Daniels benefited from an easy schedule until he won 2 games in the playoffs, dipshit. The stupidest argument I've ever heard in my life. And I don't even use the Drake May plays bad comp argument. Sometimes it's definitely a factor. Like, but then he played the Browns defense and fucking cooked them. We'll see against the Falcons defense this week. He probably cooked them too. Yeah, bro, it's fucked up. It's fucked up. Drake May's nice, bro. Like, it's not an indictment on Drake May for me to say that I'm not ready to put him over Jaden Daniels. Which a lot of Twitter fingers in my TikTok comment section seem to think. I just think it's a little premature. It's a little premature, and I've been quick to pull the trigger. But I saw what Jaden Daniels did in the playoffs, and then I was like, all right, this guy's top 5. Seen enough. Let's see what Drake May does in the playoffs. Let's see what Drake May does down the stretch here. Let's see if he can consistently be this accurate with his deep ball. He's going to be the greatest quarterback ever. I would lean that he's not. Like, he's gonna regress a little bit. Like, come on. And the old adage where it's like, well, wait until they get tape on him, which is fair, but you can't say that in the argument for a sophomore slump. Like, that was the argument for Jaden's sophomore slump. It was like, yeah, not that he's having one because he's not. He's just been hurt. But they're like, yeah, Jaden's going to come in and everybody's going to have tape on him. They're going to figure him out. Buddy, they had tape on him going into the playoffs. Like, the Lions had a whole bye week to study the Bucks and the Commanders. Get ready. They couldn't figure it out. They couldn't figure it out. Like Drake May's tape, they're gonna get tape on Drake May as the season goes, and they'll try to see what can stop him. And I don't think they're like. I think Drake May's just really fucking good. Like he is. But the point is, there's a lot of stupid narratives people talk about, stupid arguments people like to bring into NFL discourse. And that, well, wait till they get tape on him is one of them. Stupidest fucking argument ever. How much time coaches spend watching tape to prepare for a player in a week? You don't think like that? Anyway, Seahawks Commanders. Seahawks do have one of the best defenses in football, though. Got to give them that. The Commanders are without Terry McLaurin, but they've been without Terry McLaurin all week long. I think this is going to be a kitchen sink game for the Commanders where Cliff Kingsbury, Dan Quinn are going to throw everything they have at the Seahawks to win this game at home, where the season's not on the line, but 4-5, it looks a whole lot better than 3-6. And they need to win this game, especially with the way their schedule is coming up. The Seahawks are no easy out by any stretch of the imagination, but you get them at home. They need this game. They got the Eagles twice still. They need this game. And I do think they got to just not even try to establish the run because the Seahawks have the best run defense in football. It's got to be a lot of screen passes, a lot of quick passes out the gate to be an extension of the run game on those early downs. And Jaden needs to be getting the ball out of his hand fast. And I do think he'll be able to do so. And I do think if the Commanders' offensive line, Larry Tunsil was a participant in practice. He didn't play last week. If the Commanders' offensive line does get beat up by the Seattle defensive line, which is a complete possibility, it's also a complete possibility that this Commanders' offensive line gives Jaden plenty of time. But if it does break down, Jaden is still very mobile, but he is a little bit hindered with the injury. I don't know if he'll be wearing the knee brace. I just think it's a kitchen sink game for the Commanders at the end of the day. Oh, man, it's just tough here. I love the over in this game more than anything at 47.5 because I do think Jaden Daniels is good enough to will this team to victory, will this offense to put some points on the board. So I'm going to be taking Jaden Daniels and the Commanders plus the points and on the money line because I also think the Seahawks are going to be a very popular public pick. But I love the over. I think it's at 47.5 in this game more than anything because the Seahawks offense is going to torch. It's going to absolutely torch this Commanders defense. Which their secondary, unfortunately, has just been garbage, man. They're allowing 7.2 yards per pass attempt. That's the third highest out of any defense in the league. They're without Dorrance Armstrong, who's on IR. And this Seahawks offensive line has improved so much since last year, allowing the 6th lowest sack rate in the NFL. JSN coming to town. Not ideal for this Commanders defense, but I also think, like I said, Cliff Kingsbury, who had a good game plan against the Chiefs. They were driving down the field on their first drive. Deebo Samuel drops interception right into dude's hands. They were creating big chunk plays. It's just, you can only hold off Patrick Mahomes for so long, and they just didn't play perfect, and they need to play perfect. I think you can get away with not playing perfect offensively, and they do have Jaden Daniels, not Marcus Mariota. And Marcus did his job as a starter. 2-2 as a starter this year, so he did his job as a backup, but you'd rather have Jaden, obviously. So I like the Commanders to cover at home in a kitchen sink game where they're going to throw everything they have at the Seahawks to win this game. And I like the over as well. I love the over more than the Commanders. But yeah, that'll do it for today's episode. Hit the subscribe button, hit the like button.